Welcome to Martin Monday's Intentional Intimacy, where love, life, and legacy meet in the moments that matter most. Every week, I will share sacred reflections of my 30-year marriage before Martin's passing, as well as our life now without him. May these reflections help us live with more weight, warmth, and wisdom. Martin was a letter carrier by profession, but a life carrier by purpose. So let's take a moment and let intentional intimacy speak. Good day, this is Paula. Welcome to episode 21 of Martin Monday's Intentional Intimacy, where I share a life story and principle regarding my husband after we were married for 30 years, and he passed away in November of 2021. So today's lesson, honestly, guys, is a bit tender for me. And so I am just going to ask for permission to kind of read what is actually in the book, Intentional Intimacy. I still speak to it freely and interject a little bit, but I think that what I captured when I wrote the book probably really captures the essence of what I want to say. So just engage me as I share episode 21 entitled, You Can Do It. You can do it. So there's an old adage that says, there's nothing like a mother's love. But I have to modify it to add a father's love as well. Love, rooted in hope, sees the best in every situation and in every person. Martin, he did this for everyone. He did. But he especially did it for our children. Now, when MJ, our oldest son, was 8, we welcomed our second child, Montgomery. Now, his birth was a great addition to our family. We had planned his birth, unlike MJ's, and we were very excited to expand our family and get to know this new person. Martin, as always, was thrilled, and he couldn't wait. When Montgomery was a toddler, we noticed that his verbal communication skills were not as strong as they should have been. And we often struggled to understand him. Over time, Montgomery became increasingly frustrated because we couldn't understand him. And so we realized that we needed an intervention. After a series of examinations and tests, Montgomery became eligible for special needs preschool in our district, where he received speech therapy. And that was a tough pill to swallow. It really was. Martin was not moved at all, and he continued to speak faith over Montgomery. We had our prayer warriors agreeing with us in prayer as well. Now, when Montgomery was ready for kindergarten, the school district, they automatically placed him in the special education curriculum. Now, Martin championed for his son, declaring that he didn't have cognitive issues. He just had a speech issue. And so Martin stood up for him. He didn't take a single step back. And Montgomery was everything for him in that moment, and he advocated so strongly for him. And so Martin believed in him like no one else. He really did. I believed in Montgomery, but Martin really, truly believed in Montgomery. Evaluative testing later confirmed, and Montgomery began a dual academic journey because the evaluative testing revealed that he was an honor student and he was above grade level cognitively. And so he began a dual academic journey in honors and in speech therapy. And he continued like that all the way through the 8th grade, from kindergarten to 8th grade in both honors and special education. That's an odd combination. And so in high school, though, he discontinued the speech therapy because we involved Montgomery in the decision-making process. And he said he didn't want to go into high school, with that label of being special ed. And even though there were still some things that they felt he should have worked on, specifically what they call a vowelific R, wherever there's the letter R preceded by a vowel, he would not quite pronounce it as accurately as he should have. And so they wanted him to stay in speech therapy to work on that because he had made such tremendous progress. And he said, "Now I'll work on that on my own. I'm aware. I'll work on that, but I'm not going into high school with that label." So I thought that was interesting. And so I said, in high school, he discontinued speech therapy. He remained in the honors program, and he graduated top of his class. He even gave a speech during the graduation ceremony, and he received millions of dollars in college scholarships. And he ended up matriculating to Indiana University with a full ride academic scholarship. Montgomery graduated with honors from college with a triple major, and he has a job. It started out with a highly reputable bank, but he moved on from there, and he's at somewhere else now. And so that's the backstory for this lesson on You Can Do It. And I would like to then reflect on the other side as to what all it meant to me. Thanks. Welcome to my reflection. So as written here in the book, I'll read what's here, but then I do have some things I really need to interject and share. So what is the lesson here? I'm so glad you asked. Never give up on your children. Parents must both advocate for and affirm their children. Advocacy establishes their path, while affirmation encourages and motivates them along the journey. Advocacy establishes their path, while affirmation encourages and motivates them along the journey. And so I witnessed this with, I'll say, the Martins. And so I witnessed this with both Martin. I'll talk a little bit and I'll come back to what I had written. I witnessed this with both Martin, my husband, and I witnessed this with Martin, my son. Let me explain what I mean by that. So I witnessed it with Martin and Montgomery and how he encouraged Montgomery and always, advocated and affirmed him in his abilities. And I witnessed and watched how that strengthened Montgomery's resolve and that strengthened his confidence in himself. And watching Montgomery navigate those years of both duality and special education and honors, he knew he had support, and he knew that he had, someone who believed in him, which helped him to believe in himself. Montgomery, like I said, graduated with academic honors, and he actually gave a speech at his high school graduation, which was a goal and attainment that he wanted, and he purposed early in his heart that he was going to be able to stand in front of his classmates and their parents on graduation day. And he knew that as a class officer, he could achieve that goal. And sure enough, in high school, he became a class officer, graduated in 2018, and gave that speech. I never knew until after that graduation that was part of his resolve, that was part of his planning, and that was part of his process to achieve what he wanted to achieve, because he knew his parents believed in him. And that just shows the power of intentionality and shows the power of commitment and planning to a goal. And so I witnessed that level of advocacy, that level of affirmation with Martin, my husband. But guess what, guys? I witnessed it with Martin, my son. Because my grandson, Marcellus, also experienced speech issues at a young age. He's 7 now, and he experienced speech issues at a young age. And when it happened again within our family, it was like, wait a minute, not again, you know? And so I witnessed my son and my daughter-in-law basically mirror me and Martin, you know, in the shock, the initial, like, my child, you know, the duality and the mixed feelings of, you know, did I do something wrong, or, you know, all of that. And, you know, how do I navigate this with my child, and my child's, you know, not, you know, this or not that, and just having to deal with those emotions. But listen, what Martin, my son, or MJ, as we call him, witnessed through his father, he was able to then do that same thing with his son. And I watched MJ, or Martin, my son, I watched his advocacy for my grandson. I watched his affirmation of my grandson, who now is in second grade. And I probably should check with him. Does he still get speech? Because that boy is rather articulate in what he's saying, you know, and what he is doing. And so he's exceeding and doing very well, you know, academically. And so what is the lesson in all of this? Listen, whatever you're going through, whatever your children are going through, you guys can do this. You know, you can get through it together with love, with affirmation, with advocacy, with being real and honest with each other, but working through it step by step. You know, we go through things and we never know what all it's going to do or mean in the future. I had no idea that we would model something that my son would then later have to apply within his family. And so I just want to encourage you that you can do it. Whatever that is, you can do it. I had a conversation with someone near and dear to me, even just earlier this week, talking about something I had posted on social media that says, you survived 100% of your difficult days. And that person couldn't relate to that statement. They were like, but I'm struggling still now, or, you know, I'm having difficulty now, or it's traumatic and it's been difficult. And I said to them, hey, I totally get that. I in no way, no way minimize the traumatic impact of something, or minimize, you know, that you may still be in that struggle. But I'm simply asking you to reframe it from the standpoint of, you've survived, that's past tense, whatever you had gone through previously, you survived it. Doesn't mean you didn't carry forth a scar. Doesn't mean you're not dealing with or working through what that meant, but yet you still survived it. Let that survival be the framework and the groundwork for whatever it is that you're going through now. Reminding yourself that, yes, I can do it. And so I'm here to encourage you today, whatever it is that you're going through, you can do it. Both affirmation and advocacy are your portion. And I encourage you in this, and encourage you to reframe the circumstances and situations. Yes, we're going to have to work through some difficulties. Yes, we're going to have some challenges and obstacles that we have to overcome, but you can do it. So I hope you have a great week. Thanks again for joining me here for Martin Mondays, and I'll see you next week. Martin Mondays continues on Tuesday with the Tuesday Tea. Check it out and join me and take a sip. You know, Martin used to say a lot of things. Some were funny, some were wise. But one thing he often said was, wow. Wow. Just those 3 letters. It spoke volumes. It meant a lot. When he didn't know what to say, wow. When he was excited about something, wow. When he was confused, perhaps, or even frustrated, he said, wow. And you know, he's still saying wow through this bracelet. He's still saying wow because he's still saying, may your whole life prove that God is good. And so in closing, that's my hope for you this week. May you have wow moments as you too are living out legacy. Live in the wow. Live in the reality of knowing that your whole life is good. Live in the heartbeat of Martin Mondays and intentional intimacy. May that anchor you in this week as you build legacy, one wow, one moment at a time. See you next week.